Okay, 5.5C is our third day with parallel and perpendicular lines. So we're going to practice just identifying the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. So as some review, we're going to fill in parallel lines have slopes that are, and we're going to fill in those lines there. So parallel lines have slopes that are the same and y-intercepts are different. If they were the same slope and same intercept, they'd be the exact same line. So you have to have the same slope and and different y-intercepts. So keep in mind when you are using this equation, y equals mx plus b, this slope is the same and this y-intercept is different. Perpendicular lines, on that second one there, perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So they're opposite reciprocals. So parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. And we practiced that yesterday where we did the opposite of the slope and then you flipped it. So it's the opposite and flipped. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the slope of the following points and identify if they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So it may happen where they are neither. So that means that the slopes aren't the same and they're not opposite reciprocals. And some of you, sometimes we are forgetting that we already know how to find the slope of 2 points. Okay, all of our math is building on each other. So always make sure you remember what we've done already in the past. Just because we move on to a new chapter doesn't necessarily mean that we're doing new math. Okay, so keep in mind that it all builds on one another. So in this first one, we're going to use, to find the slope, we're going to use this formula. So m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to write 17 minus 9 all over 7 minus 3. So here I have on the top there, 17 minus 9 is 8. In the denominator, 7 minus 3 is 4. And I'm going to reduce that to 2. In the second 2 points, I have -1 minus -4 all over -4 minus 2. I'm going to simplify that. So I have, here I'm going to change this 2 negatives into a positive. So -1 plus 4 is 3. And then -4 minus 2 is -6. And then we're going to want to reduce that as well. So the whole thing is going to be negative. And I'm going to reduce that, so I have -1 over 2. So when I'm looking at these two, I'm going to compare -1/2 and a +2. And I notice one's positive, one's negative. And I've also noticed that this is 1 over 2. So this is 1 over 2. And this is really 2 over 1. So I could, if I wanted, to rewrite that 2 over 1. So they are flipped, which means they're reciprocals, and they are opposite. So that makes this a perpendicular line. Okay, so let's do one more of these together. This next point, I have 7 minus 3 all over 10 minus 2. I'm going to simplify that. So 7 minus 3 is 4. 10 minus 2 is 8. And if I reduce that, I'm going to divide 4 out of both. So it's 1 over 2 is my first slope. In this second one, I have 5 minus 0.5 all over -2 minus 7. I'm going to simplify. So this is going to be 4.5 all over negative 9. So when I simplify this, it's going to be a negative, and I can type this in my calculator, but you end up getting 0.5. So I'm going to write that as a fraction. So you get, so when I write this as a fraction, I end up getting 1 over 2. And now when I compare that, I have negative 1/2 and 1/2. So I noticed that this one is a positive 1/2. This one is a negative 1/2. So they're not parallel because they are not exactly the same. One's positive, one's negative. And they're not perpendicular because they're not reciprocals. One has to be 1/2 and the other has to be 2 over 1. Which leaves, the only thing left is neither. So it's not perpendicular and it's not parallel. So it has neither. So your task is complete these next two on your own and then push play, or sorry, pause them, try them on your own. Then push play and try those on, or check your work, and then just come back tomorrow ready to compare. Alright, so check your next, or check your work. That first one should be parallel, both your slopes are 3. The second one is perpendicular. You have positive 1/4 and negative 4. So please make sure you've checked your work and then you are ready to ask any questions or get ready on some practice tomorrow when you get back to class.